I'm sharing this because I recently separated from my girlfriend, let's call her Anna, for some ridiculous reason. Here's the story. Anna and I have been together for 2.5 years. Before Anna, I was in a serious relationship with someone named Sophie, not her real name. Sophie and I were engaged. We met in university and got along really well. I knew Sophie was open to exploring different aspects of her sexuality, and she was more inclined towards relationships with guys. On our third anniversary, she suggested having a threesome with another woman, FFM threesome. Even though most guys might have been excited about the idea, I wasn't really into it. However, I knew that Sophie had experimented with relationships with girls before and enjoyed them. Thinking it wouldn't hurt, I agreed to the threesome on one condition. It shouldn't involve someone I already knew. Sophie agreed, but said we should all meet a couple of times before making a decision. This way, we could see how comfortable we felt with each other, especially me and the other girl. Sophie wanted to ensure they had a good connection before deciding. It seemed like a sensible thing to do, so I said yes. From an outsider's point of view, everything seemed fine. We planned to meet early at a pub on a Saturday, and it went well. The other girl had a resemblance to Sophie, but it didn't bother me. In fact, she had qualities I liked in my fiancée, Sophie. She was funny, clever, and straightforward. She also showed some interest in me. She was openly bisexual, and though it made me a bit nervous, I was okay with it because Sophie didn't seem bothered. To sum it up, sorry if I'm being too detailed, we went ahead with the threesome, but it wasn't enjoyable for me. I felt uneasy being intimate with someone other than Sophie, so I wasn't as excited as they were. I tried to focus only on Sophie, but the other girl wanted to do things with my fiancé while I did things with her. Sophie not only agreed, but was really enthusiastic about it. I gave it a try, and it's not that I couldn't do it, but it was clear I wasn't very into it. After the threesome, when it was just the two of us, we had a disagreement. She said any guy would have loved to have a threesome like that with his partner, that it's every guy's fantasy and so on. I explained that it wasn't my fantasy, and I'm not like every other guy. I'm just being myself, and sorry if I don't fit the stereotype. She called me selfish for not being fully into it, and we had a few more arguments about this. Our relationship went downhill pretty fast. I couldn't shake off the bad feeling of her treating me badly and expecting me to enjoy something I wasn't into. I really didn't like being called selfish. I pointed out that she had things she wasn't comfortable with in her past relationship, like not wanting to do anal when her ex-boyfriend suggested it. I asked if she considered herself selfish for saying no. She responded by asking if I would have preferred her to do it. It was confusing because that wasn't the issue. I didn't care if she did it or not. I couldn't tell if she genuinely didn't understand my feelings or if she was avoiding the real problem. We eventually broke up, and there were other significant problems like her changing her mind about having kids. After that, I met Anna, and now I'm in this situation. What bothers me is that I'm being called selfish again. I've never thought of myself as selfish. I mean, I agreed to a threesome even when I wasn't excited about being intimate with another girl, just to make my fiancé happy. That's definitely not being selfish. Anna had always made it clear that she didn't want to know about my sexual past, and that was fine. But last Friday night she started asking. She said she wanted to know, so I asked her 3 times if she was sure. She said yes, so I told her about the threesome. At first, she seemed interested in the details. But later, after satisfying her curiosity, and while we were watching an old movie, she said it's not fair that I got to experience being with 2 girls while she never had the chance with 2 guys. I explained to her that a threesome with 2 guys wasn't my fantasy, and the one I had before wasn't either. I wasn't comfortable with it. Anna then said she really wanted a threesome with 2 guys, and if I didn't want it, I'd be selfish. So, I asked her how she'd feel if I asked for another threesome with 2 girls. She said it would be different because I already had one. I suggested she could have 2 MMF threesomes, and then we could have a FFM one even though I didn't want it. It was just a hypothetical idea. She said she wouldn't like it because she isn't bisexual. I pointed out that I'm not bisexual either, so it would be the same. I asked if she was thinking about someone specific, but I couldn't figure out who. She works with 3 girls and 1 guy who happens to be gay and flamboyant, happily married to a guy. Plus, she doesn't have a group of friends that includes a single guy. She replied that she not only doesn't have anyone in mind, which was what I thought, but she was just now thinking about this once I told her about my past threesome. She mentioned that she doesn't care about anyone in particular and just wants to have the same experience that I had. It wouldn't be because both girls were bi-curious and I am not, nor is Anna. She desires that same privilege. She even laughed and said she chose Henry Cavill. I chuckled too and told her that if I were into threesomes I would even question my heterosexuality if we had a chance with him. But nope. I told her seriously that I don't want a threesome, neither MMF nor FFM. She got angry and fell silent. Cue a long, uncomfortable silence. She repeated that my stance was selfish and expressed surprise that I could be such a selfish guy. I, of course, took offense at this and told her to really think about what she was saying, because if she sees me that way, we're done. Especially since I've never been selfish in a relationship, and if there's something positive about me in relationships, it's that I'm the opposite of that. Yet here I am, sitting alone and feeling a bit confused. It's not easy, being accused of being selfish by both my ex-fiancé a few years back and now my current girlfriend. The tension in the air is thick and we're not talking right now. I'm trying to let some time pass to cool my head, but it's not as simple as it sounds. As I sit here sipping tea from a cup she gave me, I can't help but reflect on what led to this point. It all started when she returned and decided to give me the silent treatment for a day, attempting to make me bend to her demand of having a MMF experience. It was an unexpected and uncomfortable proposition, and I needed time to process it. On the second day, unable to bear the silence any longer, I confronted her about how she was using this tactic as a form of manipulation. Our conversation quickly escalated, and she accused me of being selfish and trying to control her. It was a tough moment. I expressed my love for her and tried to make her understand that if she truly loved me, she wouldn't be pushing for something that made me uncomfortable. I reminded her that just because my past relationship failed due to introducing another person into the mix, it didn't mean I wanted to follow the same path in our relationship. From then on, our relationship took a turn for the worse as she continuously displayed signs of passive aggressiveness. The tension lingered, and this spring break I found myself driving my girlfriend and two of her friends 300 miles to the beach. The plan was to spend 3 days there, soaking up the sun and enjoying each other's company. Little did I know this trip would become a turning point. On the first day, we all headed to the beach. I found a cozy spot on the left side of my girlfriend, her friend on the right. The sun was shining, and the sound of the waves created a serene atmosphere. Everything seemed fine until an attractive guy with a six-pack and a charming demeanor strolled by. My girlfriend wasted no time. She called out to him right in front of me, striking up a conversation and shamelessly flirting. To my disbelief, she even ended up giving him her real phone number. I was caught off guard, embarrassed, and utterly humiliated. Her friend, instead of intervening, burst into laughter, adding to my sense of awkwardness. My girlfriend, looking at me with a smirk, insisted it was all just a joke. Deep down, I knew this was another one of her manipulation tactics, a pattern that had emerged since the moment I shared my discomfort with my threesome experiences based on my previous relationship. This incident, however, felt like the last straw. The laughter around me only intensified the gravity of the situation. It was clear that her actions were not just a playful jest, but a deliberate attempt to make me uncomfortable. I stood up, grabbing my things, feeling a mix of frustration and hurt. It was time to head back to the hotel. She called after me, offering apologies, but I could sense it wasn't genuine. Still, I continued walking, determined to put some distance between us. As I made my way back, she realized I wasn't playing around. Panic set in and she got up, chasing after me, pleading for me to stop. I couldn't ignore the fact that this wasn't just a minor disagreement. This was a breaking point for me. I told her firmly that I was done with the relationship. Her response? Accusing me of acting childish. She soon realized the gravity of the situation when she saw me packing my things. Determined to leave, I headed to the hotel lobby to check out. She followed me, still trying to downplay the situation. It was at that moment she began to grasp the reality of the situation. She asked how she and her friend were supposed to make it back home since I was their ride. I looked her in the eye and reminded her that she had already given her number to the guy on the beach. If she was willing to flirt and give out her number in front of me, then she should rely on him for a ride back. The weight of my decision became apparent, and as I finalized the checkout, I knew that this was the end of a chapter in my life. Feeling sick and uncomfortable with the weight of her manipulations, I immediately drove home as she and her friend pleaded with me to stay. The atmosphere was heavy and the car ride was filled with a tense silence. Her attempts to call me went unanswered. I needed the space to process the situation and gather my thoughts. 2 days later, she returned home, anger evident in her expression. She accused me of being a terrible boyfriend, claiming she could do better. Surprisingly, I found myself agreeing with her assessment. The truth was, the communication breakdown and the continuous manipulation had taken a toll on me, and it became clear that our relationship was no longer healthy. As we sat down to talk, we both acknowledged the inevitable. It was time to end things. A week later, she agreed to move out of my apartment. We reached a mutual understanding that our relationship wasn't salvageable, and she couldn't afford the rent without me. Similarly, I couldn't stay in a situation that left me feeling drained and unhappy. And so, that was how our relationship came to an end, with a shared realization that parting ways was the best choice.